All right, so solving, a lot of you have seen this in middle school. We can do it with one step, with two step. Most of you are pretty confident with this amount of work, okay? So having to remove two numbers in order to get x by itself, okay? So let's talk about solving. The whole idea of solving is you are undoing or reversing the order of operations. So if we want to cancel addition, we would use subtraction, vice versa. If we want to cancel multiplication, we're going to use division because they're opposites. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into our first one. If I'm trying to get that x by itself, one way that I think about that is I think about it like a party. I want to get the x by itself. It's his party. 4, this is his best friend. I'm going to put bestie. Okay, if you're having a party and your parents come home, are you going to kick your best friend out of the party first? No, you're going to kick this loner guy. You're going to kick him out first, okay? So if we think about it that way, who would I kick out of the party first? I'd kick out the 1. So how do I cancel out plus 1? I'm going to cancel that with a minus 1. And I'm sure you've heard the rule before, but what you do to one side, you must do to the other. I'm hoping that that's what you said in your head. So if I do the same thing to the other side, what happens with the 1s? They're going to cancel. Then I can write down what I have left. 15 minus 1 makes 14. Bring down my equal sign. Nothing happened with the 4x yet, so I bring down 4x. Okay. Our next step, we're still trying to get x by itself. So our next step is we're going to go ahead and get rid of our best friend. It's our party. It's over. People are leaving. That 4 is going to leave next. So what is that 4 doing with x? That 4 is actually the same as saying 4 times x. That's multiplication. So if the 4 is multiplying, how would we cancel it? We would divide. That's the opposite. We are not going to use this symbol at all in Algebra 1. Okay, you will not use that again. The way we write it is like a fraction. We're not going to do them diagonals. We're going to do them directly underneath it. So fraction on both sides. I'm going to show that I'm dividing by 4 on both sides, and then we can move to our next step, okay? So 4 divided by 4 makes a 1. Therefore, we have just 1x left over. They cancel it out. But 14 doesn't divide by 4, not evenly. So if I type in my calculator, Control Divide, type in 14 over 4, and press Enter, it's going to simplify that fraction, and it's going to give me 7 over 2. This is the answer I expect to see in your notes. Same example answers that I expect to see on your homework. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at number 6. Okay, so on number 6, same idea. We're going to look at which side the x is on. He's on the left. We're going to be thinking about this like, who's the bestie? I'm going to put BFF. And who's the loner? Well, the loner's -6, yeah, but he's not even at the party. He's over on the other side. We're not worried about kicking him out of anywhere, okay? That makes this little 8. That's my loner. So who would I kick out first? I'm going to cancel out the 8. Because it's adding, we're going to subtract. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other, but that means the other side of the equal sign, okay? So I'm going to do my -8 over here. You might need a calculator on this one because when the 8's cancel, we have to do -6 minus 8. Okay, -6 minus 8 is going to give us a -14, and we're bringing down the -2x. All right, again, -2 times x, this is the same. -2x, -2 times x, they mean the same thing. So if we look at that one, then we want to divide both sides by a -2, just like we did before. The -2's are going to divide. When you divide by itself, it makes a 1, so we have just 1x left over. -14 divided by a -2, those two negatives are going to cancel. 14 divided by 2 makes a 7. That's our final answer. Okay. All right, 7 and 8, they might look a little bit alike, but they are actually very different. Okay, that's the difference between, I'm going to write this, don't write this. That's the difference between a baby fraction and a big fraction. Okay, And the difference here, I really want you to look at this. The difference between a baby fraction and a big fraction is talking about who my loner is. Okay? If I zoom into number 7, and I'm only worried about guys on the same side with X, only people at the party. Who is the loner? Who looks like they're not with X? They're just hanging out kind of on their own. That's this 1. Okay, the X and the 5, they're kind of in their own level. They're separate. The 1 is by itself. Okay, but if I come over here, that 1 isn't off by himself. Not the one that's at the party. The X and the 1, they're both together. They're combining. Okay, they're right there at the top. This 9 actually is our loner. He's on the level all by himself. Okay, so when it comes time to solve this, it's going to change a little bit on who we get rid of first. These problems will not be solved the same way. So let's go ahead and start with number 7. If I'm kicking the loner out of the party first, who or how would I do that? The 1 is adding, so we need to subtract. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. The 1s are going to cancel, and we're going to get to bring down what we have left. 3 minus 1 is going to make a 2. X over 5 is still there. We didn't do anything with that yet. Okay? So if I was to ask you what would we do next, well, we got to get rid of the 5. Remember that if you say over 5, that's the same as divide by 5. Okay? So if that 5 is dividing, how would we cancel it? You're right, multiplication. Now, we're not going to do times 5. That's not how we write it in algebra. You won't write it like that anymore. What we need to do instead is we need to do times 5 on one side, times 5 on the other side. When you multiply a number and divide it at the same time, they are going to end up canceling. So 5 and 5 cancel. We're going to end up with just 1x left over. 2 times 5 is going to make us a 10. So that right there is our final answer. Now, number 8 is going to be similar, but it's not going to be the same order because where we start is going to look a little bit different. Okay? So let's go ahead and look for who we're going to cancel first on number 8. Number 8, the loner, is the 9 that's in the bottom. And what's that 9 doing? Good, that 9 is dividing, so same as dividing a 9. If we want to cancel out a divide by 9, that means we need to multiply. So if I do multiply by 9 on the outside, just like we talked about, what's going to happen with those 9s? There's no parentheses, so I'm not distributing. We're not doing that. All I'm doing is trying to cancel out the 9. That's it. So if I say what's left, well, all I have left is x plus 1. The 9s are gone. There's no division anymore. And on the right side, 1 times 9 is 9. So now how would I cancel out the 1? Subtract a 1 from both sides. Oops, I need to change my color. Subtract the 1 from both sides. The 1s are going to cancel off, and my final answer, x equals a positive 8. We are all set with that problem. All right, if you missed anything, take a second, go ahead and write that down, and I'll meet you on the next page.